Imagine buying a $1 coffee. Just $1? That doesn't feel like much. You buy one today, maybe another tomorrow, and by the end of the week, you've spent about $7. Still small, right? But here's the strange part. If you repeat that tiny habit for 30 years, that same coffee could quietly cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Not because coffee is expensive, but because something invisible is happening. Something most people never notice. And once you see it, you start noticing it everywhere. It's called opportunity cost. And it might be one of the most powerful forces in your financial life. But here's the twist. The coffee isn't actually the real problem. Let's start with a simple character. Meet Sam. Sam works a normal job. Every morning on the way to work, Sam stops at a small coffee shop. $1. That's it. Sam doesn't think twice about it, because it feels tiny. And this is where the human brain plays a trick on us. Our brains are very good at noticing big expenses, rent, car payments, travel, but our brains are terrible at noticing small repeated costs because they feel harmless. But the economy doesn't care if something feels small. It only cares about time. Imagine putting that same $1 per day into a jar. After a year, you would have about $365, not bad, but still not life-changing. Now imagine something different. Instead of a jar, Sam puts that same dollar into an investment account, and that money grows, not fast, but steadily, maybe 7% per year. Picture a tiny snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it barely grows, but the longer it rolls, the larger it becomes. This is called compound growth, and it is one of the most powerful forces in economics. But compound growth has a secret. It only works if you start early. Let's go back to Sam. Sam spends $1 every day on coffee. That's about $30 per month. Still small, but now let's look at time. Over 10 years, that habit costs about $3,650. Now imagine that money had been invested. With compound growth, it might be worth $7,000 or more. Now stretch that to 30 years. That same tiny habit could represent tens of thousands of dollars. But this is where many financial conversations go wrong, because people hear this story and think, so coffee is the problem. But that's not really true. The real issue isn't coffee. It's invisible spending patterns. Most people don't have just one small expense. They have dozens. Streaming subscriptions, delivery fees, convenience purchases, impulse buys. Each one feels harmless, but together, they slowly drain resources that could have been growing. Imagine a bucket full of water. Now imagine tiny holes at the bottom. Each hole is small, barely noticeable. But over time, the bucket slowly empties. And this is why wealthy people often think differently about money. Wealthy people usually focus on something called capital allocation. Every dollar has a job: spend, save, or grow. When money grows, it starts working for you, instead of you working for it. But here's the most important insight. Small spending doesn't destroy wealth by itself. The real damage comes from lost opportunity. Every dollar spent today is a dollar that cannot grow tomorrow. That's opportunity cost. And once you start noticing opportunity cost, you begin asking different questions. Not, can I afford this? But, what is this costing my future? Because the biggest difference between people who build wealth and people who struggle financially is often small decisions repeated thousands of times. $1, $10, $50. Individually, they seem meaningless. But over decades, they shape entire financial futures. So does that mean you should never buy coffee? Of course not. Life isn't about eliminating every small pleasure. Coffee is not the enemy. The real lesson is awareness. Understanding how time, compounding, and opportunity cost work together. Because once you understand these forces, you start making decisions differently. You begin noticing the tiny financial leaks in everyday life. And small changes today can create very different outcomes decades later. Because the most powerful financial advantage isn't income. It's understanding how money grows over time. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more simple explanations about money, economics, and the invisible systems that shape our financial lives. Because sometimes, the biggest financial lessons start with something as small as a $1 cup of coffee